The Bad Batch Season 3 is less than a month away, and I believe one of the biggest reveals in this final season will be that Omega is Force sensitive. And although that might sound crazy right now, I can guarantee you by the end of this video you will be quite angry with yourself, because Omega being a Force user has been right in front of our stupid faces since episode 1 of season 1 of The Bad Batch. And I can already hear you guys screaming at your screen, "Oh great, another Force user in Star Wars, what else is new?" However, Omega is different. And this all has to do with Palpatine's plan. Palpatine has always been about cloning Force sensitives. From Legends or Extended Universe to canon, Palpatine has always been trying to live forever by creating a Force sensitive clone to put his life essence into. And in the trailer for The Bad Batch Season 3, Palpatine has the most important line that no one really seems to be talking about. And no one's talking about it because Asajj Ventress stole the show in the final scene of this trailer. Because at the time of The Bad Batch, Asajj is supposed to be dead. She has a canon death in the book Dark Disciple that takes place before the events of The Bad Batch. But I explain how this is not a retcon in this video right here. But it seems like that scene was thrown in there to try to divert fans' attention, because what Palpatine said was extremely important. He said,
"There is nothing of greater importance to secure the future of this empire. Whatever is needed to accomplish this goal, you will have it."
We can assume he's talking to either Dr. Hemlock or a scientist on Mount Tantiss, and he's referring to the cloning efforts on Mount Tantiss that are the most important to securing the future for this empire. Because like I said, Palpatine has always been obsessed with trying to clone. From the prequel trilogy all the way to the sequel trilogy, Palpatine has been trying to create that Force-sensitive clone so that he can live forever. And I think Omega and Mount Tantiss are going to be the key for Palpatine to create the perfect Force-sensitive clone. And we already know based off the trailer and of course how Season 2 ended, that this final season will involve Mount Tantiss in a big way. And this mountain just isn't any random mountain. In Legends or Extended Universe, Mount Tantiss is used as a cloning facility to create Force-sensitive clones like Joruus C'baoth, or even in the Heir to the Empire trilogy when Thrawn goes to Mount Tantiss, the cloning facility is used to create a clone of Luke Skywalker. But that's in Legends. In canon, we have seen Palpatine trying to clone Force sensitives. In the Clone Wars, he hires bounty hunters to track down and capture baby Force sensitives. So it would make sense that The Bad Batch Season 3 is not the start of Palpatine trying to clone Force sensitives. He's been creating a clone army for decades to fight this galaxy-wide war called the Clone Wars. And being the Chancellor of the Republic, he has access to the greatest Kaminoan scientists in the galaxy. So he's probably going to try to create a clone that is a Force user. And that brings us to the Bad Batch. The Bad Batch are 5 genetically enhanced clones of Jango Fett, and they all have their own special abilities, from Hunter's tracking to Tech's smarts to Wrecker's strength to, of course, Crosshair being the best shot in the galaxy. But the 5th member of the Bad Batch, or Clone Force 99, is not Echo. Echo was a regular clone who they saved from being tortured. The 5th member is Omega, and she does not show any enhancements. Or does she? Like I said at the top of the video, I am 99.9% sure that Omega will be revealed to be a Force user by the end of this 3rd season. And like I said, it's been right in front of our stupid faces since the very start. In Season 1, Episode 1 of The Bad Batch, Omega uses the Force to sense someone coming twice. When Clone Force 99 has been sent off of Kamino on a mission by Grand Moff Tarkin to go hunt down and kill Saw Gerrera, Omega is going through the Bad Batch's room, and she senses the clone guards coming long before they get there. And if that's not enough, in a very similar way, later on when the Bad Batch have returned to Kamino, when they are trying to make their great escape from the hangar bay, Crosshair is coming down the hall, and Omega again senses him long before he arrives. And if you're thinking, oh, well, maybe that was just luck. Maybe she could have just heard their footsteps coming from hundreds of yards away. Let me tell you, this is just the tip of the iceberg. Because in that same scene in the hangar bay on Kamino while they are trying to escape, Crosshair is about to stop them. He's actually about to shoot Hunter and end this escape really quickly. But Omega shoots the gun out of Crosshair's hand. This is the same Omega that has grown up on Kamino as a scientist and never picked up a blaster or shot a blaster in her life. At the time, the Bad Batch and the audience ourselves shrugged it off as a lucky shot. 1 in a million. But this is the first of many just lucky things happening with Omega around. And a lucky shot is the first thing we find out about Luke Skywalker and his abilities with the Force. From shooting womp rats on Tatooine to taking down the Death Star with just his instinct. Or do you want to call it luck? Or, like Han said,
"Great shot, kid, that was 1 in a million."
Or let's talk about the truth. This is the Force. To an untrained Force user, using the Force is all about instinct. This is what Qui-Gon tells little Annie in The Phantom Menace before he goes into the pod race. Trust your instincts. Because without training, even if you are a Force-sensitive being, you can't use Force push or Force pull or Force choke or anything like that. It's shown in other ways. Anakin winning this pod race as a human when no one else could, or Luke Skywalker taking down the Death Star without help from the technology in his X-Wing. But Luke and Anakin are different. They were born. Omega is a clone. And in the second episode of The Bad Batch Season 1, when Clone Force 99 goes to see Cut, the deserter clone who escaped the Clone Wars a long time ago and now has a family, Cut tells Hunter that the Kaminoans don't create for no reason. Meaning Omega, being one of only 2 clones to not have accelerated growth, and these Force abilities weren't given to her for no reason. And although there are countless other examples in Season 1 of Omega sensing something before it happens, or just Omega having some ability that she clearly shouldn't have, having grown up only on Kamino and never leaving the planet, I want to fast forward to Season 2, Episode 6. This is when Omega hears the cries of Gungi while they are on a mission. Gungi is a Wookiee Jedi who was a youngling at the Jedi Temple on Coruscant. And this episode, centered around the Bad Batch saving Gungi's life, really puts the nail in the coffin for me when it comes to Omega being a Force sensitive. Because at the beginning of the episode, Omega senses Gungi's presence. She's way too far away to actually hear him crying. She hears him through the Force. And then by the end of this episode, the two of them are meditating under a tree on Kashyyyk, trying to tap into the Force. This interaction between Omega and Gungi is actually the first interaction that Omega has with a Force user. And having the ability to use the Force and being able to use the Force are 2 completely different things. One, you're born with, and the second, you really need a lot of training to be good at. And Omega has no training. That's why she's not going around Force pushing things, or Force pulling things, or Force choking things. But this trailer for the 3rd season of The Bad Batch might be teasing as to how Omega will use the Force. As this trailer is teasing yet another interaction between Omega and a Force user. Actually, 2 Force users. Asajj Ventress is seen in this trailer, but from what we know of Asajj Ventress after her latest appearance in the Clone Wars animated show, she turns to the light side. She actually falls in love with another Jedi named Quinlan Vos. And Quinlan has recently been name-dropped in the Kenobi show, which takes place years after The Bad Batch Season 3, meaning Quinlan Vos is still alive. So if Omega does meet these 2 Force-sensitive lovebirds, is it possible that by the end of this 3rd season, Omega survives and gets to go off with these 2 and train in the ways of the Force? This would explain why Omega is not seen in Kenobi, Andor, Rebels, the original trilogy, or the Mandoverse. Because guess who's also not seen in any of those things? Asajj Ventress and Quinlan Vos. If this final season of The Bad Batch is going to go the way I think, with a lot of the members of the Clone Force 99, Hunter, Wrecker, Crosshair, all dying, then Omega, who I do think will survive, is going to be left without a family. And with these newfound Force abilities, is probably going to want to go off with 2 trained Jedi. Now, there's always the other possibility that even though Omega is Force sensitive, she might remain on Mount Tantiss and be used by Palpatine to possibly create the clone of Snoke, or even worse, Rey.
No! God, please, no! No!
But that is probably less likely. But the possibilities are endless when it comes to this third season of The Bad Batch, but I have no doubt in my mind that Omega will be revealed to be a Force sensitive by the end of this final season, and if you go back and watch the first 2 seasons of The Bad Batch in preparation for this third season, I can say with the utmost confidence that you will agree with me that Omega does have some Force abilities. But what Palpatine said in this trailer is very important, and you don't want to miss out on any other key details from this Bad Batch Season 3's trailer, and the good news is I already broke all this down in a video right here.